What a rough night of women's basketball we had tonight. And I'm not trying to poo-poo on the evening, but these two games tonight left a lot to be desired, with one exception. Paige Bueckers in the fourth quarter took a game over. That's what happened. When you look at the two games that happened tonight, we now have the other half of the Final Four, which starts Friday in Tampa. And we have Texas and UConn. Texas knocks off TCU 58-47, and UConn knocks off USC 78-64 to set up matchups between the Texas Longhorns and South Carolina Gamecocks for a fourth time in the Final Four, and UCLA versus UConn on the other side. Let's talk about it. Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Rudy's Rant, her game, her way, women's basketball. This is a great topic of discussion, in my opinion, because we have some interesting matchups for the Final Four for sure. But if you are new to the channel, thank you for jumping on board. Leave a comment, like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell. And if you are back again, I appreciate you. Leave a comment, like the video. That Texas TCU game was rough. I thought the Duke South Carolina game was rough yesterday. This one was worse. This one really was worse. And it's one of those things where, I picked TCU to be in the Final Four. I did. If you told me before today's game that Sedona Prince would play 29 minutes and score 4 points and take 4 shots, I would tell you you're absolutely out of your ever-loving mind. That's simple. No one for TCU shot the ball well, including Haley Van Lith. She had a very rough game from the field, but she went to the free throw line a lot. She finished with 17 points, 8 rebounds, but she did have 7 turnovers. TCU turned the ball over like crazy, 21 turnovers. They kept turning the ball over and over again. And I get it. Texas plays some very intense defense. And now I got a better idea as to why Texas did win games, because they're allowed to play football out there. Like, for real, they are allowed to play rock'em, sock'em, robot football out on that court. They get away with murder. And they still got called for 20 fouls. You probably could have called 40 on them. And you might say, okay, TCU was in the game because they took 21 free throws to 11 by Texas. Texas fouls all game long. And early on, Rory Harmon is hitting buckets, getting buckets. And then you look at her box at the end, she's 6 of 18. She stopped getting buckets. But the game plan for TCU was nothing short of horrendous. I was screaming at my TV. Are they going to have Sedona Prince running pick and roll all game with Haley Van Lith 23 feet from the rim? I mean, the possessions got further and further and further away from the basket. Texas was pushing them out, rather than TCU pushing back. You have a 6'7" horse down there, and you got her standing 23 feet from the basket, running pick and roll the whole goddamn game. Instead of getting her ass in the post, get position, dump the ball into her, and let her go to work. It was unbelievable, the whole game. And I heard the commentators at one point, the analysts on the broadcast saying, Haley Van Lith can't see her on the pick and roll, rolling to the rim. Because there was a number of times where I thought she was absolutely wide open. So maybe they had a point that she couldn't see her because of the way they were crashing and hedging out on the pick and roll. That said, she's 6'7". Just throw the ball up in the air. Get it, just throw it in her relative direction. But that's not how you need to get her the ball. You needed to get her on the block and just throw the ball into her. Similar to how UCLA throws the ball into Lauren Betts. She's not running pick and roll on every play. She does set some screens, but she's not running pick and roll on every single play. They ran pick and roll the whole fucking game, and it never worked. She had 1 field goal. She had 9 rebounds, 1 block. She fouled out with 7 minutes to go in the game. It was, I really thought the TCU coach, he let them down. They played terribly, but this is on him. Mark Campbell blew it, in my opinion. It wasn't that Texas played great. It was that TCU played so bad. This is the worst game TCU's played since that South Carolina game. This is probably the worst game they've played all season. This is worse than that South Carolina game. They shot 26.7% from the field, 20% from 3. The only reason they were in the game was the free throw line. Haley Van Lith became very, very aggressive and attacked the rim. They out-rebounded Texas. But them 21 turnovers were ridiculous. And I do think the fact that they didn't get the ball into Prince kind of didn't help her because of her 4 shots and 3 misses. 2 of her shots were blocked by what number was Taylor Jones. She had her shot blocked. And she's 6'7". She had her shot blocked. And it was just a really bad game. All that said, TCU was in the game. Game's 23-21 and at halftime. It was awful. And they tied the game at 29. And then completely and utterly shit the bed. They tied it at 29 with 4:55 to go in the 5 minutes to go in the third quarter. And from that point on, it went back to being bad fouls, bad turnovers. No one makes a shot. It was bad. And I just saw the biggest issue being that this coach just never adjusted. I don't think Texas did anything special. They ran the same out-of-bounds play from under their basket like 5 times, and it worked every fucking time to Madison Booker on a curl around for a short 10-foot jump shot. And it worked every single time. I think she missed once. But otherwise, it worked every freaking time. Are you not noticing that? Are you not seeing that? Is anyone not calling that out? They're going to run the same goddamn play until you stop it or make them do something different. Was not impressed by either team. I mean, I get that Texas is here now because they play football and they're allowed to play football. They didn't play great. They shot 39%. They took 3 threes the whole game. They were 2 of 3. Nothing impressive about this game. But they got 16 more shots than TCU did because of those damn turnovers. Those are 13 turnover difference. Massive, massive difference in turnovers. I think TCU had 3 5 counts out of bounds. Like, to me, this is preparation. This was preparation. You have to punch back. You can't let them punch you in the face and just get punched. I mean, again, example, Agnes Emma Nyopu had 5 points. I remember the one shot she made. It was a 3 in the first quarter from the fucking corner. She did nothing other than that. Donovan Hunter, 1 of 6, 0 of 4 from 3, did nothing. Prince, 4 points. You got 17 from Van Lith, and you got 22 from the rest of the offense, 23 from the rest of the starters. And you didn't get, I mean, nothing. The funny thing is the girl that came off the bench, Deja Merrill, played 11 minutes. She played better than Sedona Prince did. In those 11 minutes. That was an abomination of a game. An abomination of a game. Like I said, Texas didn't do anything special. Booker led them in 18. She was 8 of 17. This was an ugly game. Ugly game. And Texas moves on to the Final Four, and they will play South Carolina again. And now you have a better idea as to why those games look like they do. You can bet that this game will probably be played in no more than the 50s or low 60s. Remember, last time Texas played South Carolina, they got beat 64-46 in the SEC championship. I'm sorry, 64-45. This is not some scoring machine. Texas is not some scoring machine of a team. They're offensively challenged, but they're going to physically try to punk you. And the way I see it is South Carolina is a better version of that. Because I don't think South Carolina is all that great, but they're a better version of that. And as bad as that Duke South Carolina game was, this one looked worse. This one looked worse. I'm afraid of what that Final Four game is going to look like. I would tell you this. I don't know who's scheduling it, but I'm going to presume South Carolina, Texas is the early game because you can't have that be the late game. You cannot have that be the late game. People will turn the shit off. It will be turned off. No one's going to want to watch that garbage. It's going to be a rugby scrum the whole damn game. Texas is allowed to foul non-stop. They foul on damn near every possession and don't get called. I mean, they're good at it. They're good at it. They are absolutely good at it. TCU just didn't show up today, man. They had a great year, and I mean, look, man, you go 34-4, you lead 8. It's best finish ever in school history, but to watch the Donor Prince do literally nothing that game, mind blowing, just absolutely mind blowing. Moving into the next game, UConn and USC. Gotta say, I mean, I thought USC put up one hell of a fight. They came out strong to start. I was really impressed with their approach and how they came out. And while they were trailing at the end of the first, they were fighting. They were in it. At halftime, it was 39-25. They were 14. I thought it was going to turn into a blowout. I thought UConn would beat them by 20 plus. The fact that they only won by 14, I think, is a testament to USC and the fact that they do have talent on that team. People have this belief that team just has Juju Watkins, and I said time and time again that they had a lot of talent on that team. It's younger talent, but at the same time, I'm gonna tell you what, USC had a chance to win. They fell behind by a lot in the third. They were down 16 in the third. They cut it down to 5 going into the fourth, and it looked dicey for UConn. It looked dicey. I mean, it was 51-46 going into the fourth. And at that point, Paige had 20, Sarah Strong had 20, and that was your offense for UConn. And in the fourth quarter, Paige took the game over. She scored 11 points in the fourth quarter, and they pulled away. That was their best quarter of the game. They scored 27 points in the fourth quarter. But also, it was I think USC got fatigued, got a little tired, and look, let's be real. You got to look at the fact that Kiki Iriafen was horrible. She was terrible. 3 of 15, 10 points. That ain't gonna cut it. You needed Kiki Iriafen to have a 25, 30-point game. She needed to be an All-American tonight. She wasn't. The fact that Raya Marshall had 23 and led them in scoring with 23 points, 15 rebounds. She had a monster game. Kudos to her. She had an absolute monster game. 7 of 12, 9 of 10 from the line, 5 offensive boards, 15 total boards, 23 points. But the rest of these women just, offensively, terrible. 32.8% shooting, 23% from 3. They got the line 26 times. And they rebounded the ball well. They out-rebounded UConn. UConn shot 45% from the field, but they hit 45% of their threes, 45.5%. Paige finishes with 31. She was 9 of 11 from the line, 4 of 8 from 3. A hell of a game by Paige. I mean, these back-to-back big-time games. I got to say, Paige Bueckers is stepping up, man. Paige Bueckers is absolutely stepping up. No question about it. She feels the pressure, and this is the time for her to step up her game. I mean, look, they have a very talented team. Let's not delude ourselves. They played 8 players at least 12 minutes. They have a very talented team. UConn is loaded. Azzi Fudd was horrible for most of the game. It wasn't until Azzi Fudd hit a few shots in the fourth that UConn finally grabbed the game at the end, because to start the fourth quarter, she hit a 3 to make it 54-46. She hit another 3 to make it 62-48. And then she hit a layup. All 3 of her buckets were in the fourth quarter. And they're up 66-51. I mean, Azzi Fudd in the fourth quarter actually made a huge difference. She finished with 8 points, but she was atrocious through 3. And those three buckets were absolutely massive. If you look at it, that's 8 points. That's 70-64. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen otherwise. If she continued to struggle like that, she was struggling. There was a stat they put up at one point in the game that she was 0 for 13 against USC this year. That's pretty fucking bad. Caitlin Chen had a good game. She had 15 on 6 and 9. Sarah Strong was a monster, 22 points, 17 rebounds. But yeah, this is the Paige Bueckers show. I mean, fourth quarter, she really took that game over. 11 points of their 27 in the fourth. I know people are going to get all excited and stuff. I did think UConn would win this game regardless if Juju Watkins was playing or not. We'll never know. We will never know. People will forever have the ability to say, well, if Juju had played, something would have been different. We have no idea. We will never know the answer to that question. And it's a shame that we won't. We will never know it. If Kiki Iriafen had played better, USC would have won this game tonight. I'm telling you right now, Kiki Iriafen is going for 10 points, 3 of 15. Is an absolute disgrace. Kennedy Smith, 2 for 10. Von Allenhofen, 3 of 8. He got nothing from these other players. But particularly Iriafen and Kennedy Smith, you got 5 of 25 right there. That's just not going to cut it. That's just not going to cut it. And now you have a matchup with UConn and UCLA. And I know people are jumping on ESPN now and Andrea Carter's of the world. UConn is this, UConn's that. UConn's really good. UConn was always really good. I mean, I'm surprised that any people would pick USC against UConn in the Elite Eight, even if Juju had played. I felt that USC would beat them. I did. I felt that they would beat them. Would it have been a closer game? Probably so. Probably so. Much closer? Don't know. If Juju Watkins is playing, does Ryan Marshall got to go for 23 and 15? Probably not. So that's the things you have to balance those things out and say, would this have happened if she's playing? What would have happened, etc. You'll never know the answer to that question. But I do know this. I know that while you have one game where they know each other, you know what's going to happen. It's going to be a rugby scrum out there, a football game out there, and you're going to have a game played in the 50s. UCLA and UConn is going to be a coaching game. You need to coach this game. Game plan is going to be critical. And I just think at the end of the day, UCLA is too big. I picked them to win the championship. Does not change. Nothing has changed. If UCLA plays the way it can play, they're going to win. They're going to win. If Lauren Betts dominates the paint, they're going to win. I don't care what Paige Bueckers does. If Lauren Betts dominates the paint, UCLA wins that game. Let alone if Lauren Betts dominates the paint and UCLA shoots the way it shot against LSU from the perimeter. If that happens, they might beat them by 20. Because realistically, you have to look at the fact that, again, there is a massive size difference with these two teams. Massive size difference. UCLA's huge. Sarah Strong is a big, but she's 6'2". She's not 6'5". She's not 6'6". She's 6'2". Fudd is a guard. Bueckers is a guard. Caitlin Chen's a guard. Those are 3. They run 3 guards. Jenna Al-Alfi plays 10 minutes. She's 6'5". She's a freshman. Lauren Betts would make her lunch meat. So UConn's goal will be to push pace. UConn's goal is going to be to push the pace. They're very, very similar to LSU, with one exception. They have a player who can take a game over. Legitimately. I mean, look, Flau'jae Johnson took that shit over for LSU. It wasn't enough because nobody else showed up. You need 2 players to ball out in this game for UConn for them to be in the game against UCLA, for them to have a chance to win. Because if they don't have two players ball out, and if it just becomes a Paige Bueckers by herself, or maybe they lock her down and Sarah Strong becomes the player. I'm telling you right now, Lauren Betts obviously to me is the factor, is the factor. How will UConn defend her? How will UCLA shoot from the perimeter? This game is far more interesting to me than the other game. This should be the late game. This should be the game that everyone's getting hyped up about, because I'll tell you what, if UConn wins this game, UConn's going to win the national championship. If UConn beats UCLA, UConn's going to win the national championship. They will run South Carolina or Texas off the floor. The winner of this game will win the national championship. And watch me be wrong, but that's my belief. The winner of that game is going to win the national championship. I believe UCLA wins the game. I think they're going to win the national championship. That simple. Those are my thoughts. Those are my thoughts on this game. These two games. Texas TCU was an abomination. This game, UConn, yes, he won much better, but you're starting to see a Paige want to take over in the fourth, and that's important. She has to have that mentality. She can't be passive in a fourth. Any level of, I have a feeling that you're going to see different types of coverages on her. I think you're going to see a lot of the coverages that you had UCLA put on Juju Watkins in the Big Ten championship. I think they're going to crash her. They're going to double her. They're going to double her off pick and roll hard, and they're going to make someone else beat him. They're going to make Azzy Fuddy go for 20, 25. They're going to make Sarah Strong go crazy. At the same time, Lauren Betts is a monster. She is a monster. And I think LSU did a great job on her. And look what happened. 3-point fly. 3-point shots are flying. 3-point shots are flying. And this and LSU, similar size, not big. I mean, off the bench, what does UConn have? I mean, 6'3" Ice Brady off the bench. She's a sophomore. Aubrey Griffin, 6'1" off the bench. Yeah, it's two guards and two forwards. No one is the size of Lauren Betts. So we'll see what happens. I mean, starts Friday and Sunday in Tampa. We shall see. We'll do a preview before we get to the game, before we get there. I mean, I've already made it very clear that I think UCLA is going to win the championship, so I'm not going to take obviously, you know who I think is going to win that game. Obviously, I picked South Carolina to be in the championship, so I picked UCLA versus South Carolina. My opinion has not changed on either of those two games, but I'll do a little bit deeper dive on Friday or Thursday before we get to those games. Anyhow, thanks so much for watching. This is Rudy's Rant, her game, her way, women's basketball. Come on now.